Yuval Harari, the renowned historian and author of the book Sapiens, has published a new work, Nexus. In this audiobook, we will explain the 7 fundamental ideas of this work, which promises to revolutionize the way we see the future. Humanity has accumulated power and technology at a breathtaking speed. But are we prepared to handle the consequences? In Nexus, Yuval Noah Harari challenges us to understand how the information that connects us can also become our greatest threat. Here, we present the 7 most impactful ideas from the book that will make you rethink the course of our civilization. Point 1. The invisible threat of artificial intelligence. We live in a world where technology seems to solve more problems every day, from communications to medicine. Artificial intelligence, AI, is at the heart of this technological revolution, offering possibilities that were unimaginable just a few decades ago. It makes life easier, optimizes processes, and opens new doors in nearly every field. But do we truly understand what we are creating? In Nexus, Yuval Noah Harari raises a crucial concern. Artificial intelligence is not just a tool that helps us, but an entity capable of making decisions, learning, and most worryingly, acting beyond our control. The topic of AI is not new, but Harari's approach in Nexus goes beyond the usual discussion about job automation or the digitalization of our lives. He asks a deeper question. What happens when we create something that can think for itself? AI can process information far more efficiently than any human. However, this power comes with risks that we often overlook, partly because AI operates in a dimension we do not always perceive clearly. Harari invites us to see AI not merely as a set of complex algorithms that make life easier, but as an actor that participates in our decisions. For example, think about how often you ask a navigation system to show you the best route to your destination. That small gesture is just the tip of the iceberg. The same algorithmic logic that finds the fastest route can also influence what you see on social media, the news you consume, and even the financial decisions you make. Every interaction with AI transfers power, one more step toward automating human decisions. One of the most unsettling examples Harari provides is how AI can influence delicate matters, like who receives a bank loan, who is hired for a job, or even who goes to prison. AI is already present in many decision-making systems, and often people do not fully understand how these decisions are made. Algorithms collect vast amounts of data, analyze it faster than humans ever could, and determine outcomes that directly impact our lives. But what happens when these systems, designed by humans but operating under their own logic, make mistakes? Harari points out that AI is not infallible. Like humans, it can make errors, but these mistakes are not always visible to the naked eye. A key aspect Harari highlights is that, unlike any other technology, AI can learn independently. It does not merely execute pre-programmed tasks. It also adapts, improves, and evolves. This continuous learning process means that AI could eventually reach levels of sophistication even its creators cannot predict. Harari compares this phenomenon to ancient myths, such as the sorcerer's apprentice who unleashes forces beyond his control. AI, like those spells, has the potential to escape our grasp if we do not fully understand it. A good example of this is how AI is beginning to be used in healthcare. Many hospitals now employ AI algorithms to diagnose diseases or recommend treatments. While these systems have often proven more accurate than human doctors, there is also the risk that they may make decisions based on patterns we do not fully understand or contain errors in the data they analyze. Imagine entrusting your life to a machine that, though efficient, is not infallible. It is easy to see how this could lead to situations where humanity is relegated to a secondary role. Harari also emphasizes the importance of information in developing artificial intelligence. AI thrives on data, and the more data it has, the more it learns. The problem arises when the data feeding these systems is biased or incomplete. If AI makes decisions based on flawed or partial information, the results can be catastrophic. This is a real risk since much of the data we use comes from imperfect sources or contains human biases that can be amplified in algorithms. As we advance into this technological era, Harari warns that AI could become more than just a tool. It could evolve into an entity with its own power, capable of influencing our societies in ways we are just beginning to comprehend. In the future, we might find ourselves in a world where AI not only helps us but also controls us, making crucial decisions that affect millions without our ability to intervene. Harari emphasizes that this is not science fiction. These changes are already happening. Tech giants like Google, Amazon, and Facebook are already using algorithms that significantly influence our daily lives. Every time you search the web or buy a product online, AI is behind the scenes, analyzing your choices, predicting your next moves, and adjusting its responses to shape your behavior. It is easy to ignore these processes because they mostly happen in the background, but their impact is undeniable. What Harari urges is that we must not lose sight of the importance of human awareness in this process. AI can be a powerful tool, but only if we can understand and control it. If we allow this technology to advance without questioning it, we may find ourselves in a world where critical decisions are no longer made by humans, but by machines operating under logics we do not fully understand. At that point, we will have lost control of our destiny. The great challenge of our time is how we will manage this relationship with artificial intelligence. As Harari warns, the key lies in how we handle information and power. If we can set clear boundaries and develop control systems, AI can be an incredibly useful tool. But if we continue to advance without heeding the warnings, we may face a future where technology, instead of empowering us, strips us of our humanity. In summary, the invisible threat of artificial intelligence does not lie solely in its ability to make decisions or learn. The real danger, according to Harari, is our lack of preparation to face a world where machines might have more decision-making power than we do. We stand at the threshold of a radical change, and it is up to us to decide whether we will be the protagonists of our story or let forces beyond our understanding take the reins. Point 2. The destructive power of human networks. Throughout history, humanity has made great strides thanks to our ability to cooperate and build networks of communication and collaboration. From the earliest tribes that hunted together to today's complex global societies, the key to our success has been creating systems that enable us to work together, join forces, and achieve goals that would be impossible individually. However, in Nexus, Yuval Noah Harari warns us of a darker side to this ability. The same networks that allow us to thrive also have the power to destroy us. When we think of human networks, technologies like the internet or social media often come to mind. But as Harari reminds us, these networks are not new. For thousands of years, we have built systems of cooperation that, while they have strengthened us, have also triggered some of the greatest tragedies in history. What these networks, both past and present, share is that they are built on information, and this information is not always truthful. In fact, networks are often held together by shared fictions and fantasies, a dynamic that can make them a destructive force. Consider how the world's great religions have used stories to unite millions under a common purpose. These narratives have given meaning to life, provided comfort during uncertainty, and inspired acts of incredible bravery. However, they have also led to wars, persecutions, and deep divisions. For example, the medieval crusades were not merely armed conflicts. They were the result of deeply rooted networks of belief that drove people to violence. This same dynamic applies to other ideological systems, religious or not. Harari suggests in Nexus that these networks, because they rely so heavily on shared fictions, are easily manipulated. And when the wrong forces are unleashed, the consequences can be devastating. Today, the networks we build are larger and more powerful than ever before. Social media, for instance, allows people from all over the world to connect in real time, sharing ideas, news, and experiences instantly. This has created an unprecedented level of connectivity, but it has also opened the door to new forms of mass manipulation. The algorithms that determine what we see on our screens are designed to capture our attention, not necessarily to show us the truth. In this context, human networks can become a double-edged sword. Imagine how quickly a simple rumor can spread in a small community. Within hours, an invented story can sow distrust, fear, and even violence. Now multiply that phenomenon on a global scale. On social media, information, or rather misinformation, spreads at lightning speed. Fake news, conspiracy theories, and hate messages can reach millions in the blink of an eye. What is even more concerning is that not everyone needs to believe these lies. It only takes a small group for the network to become dangerous. A clear example of the destructive potential of human networks can be found in the totalitarian regimes of the 20th century. As Harari highlights, these regimes did not emerge simply because a dictator seized power. They were the result of massive networks of propaganda, surveillance, and repression involving millions of people. These networks were not formed spontaneously. They were carefully orchestrated, using every available communication medium, from radio to newspapers, to spread messages that united people under a common, yet destructive cause. Believing they were acting for the greater good, individuals contributed to systems that led to some of the greatest atrocities in modern history. The most unsettling aspect of this dynamic is that human networks can strip individuals of their critical thinking. As networks grow, individuals are swept along, unable to see the full picture. Like musicians in an orchestra, each playing their part without fully understanding the entire symphony, individuals within a network may participate in actions that seem harmless in isolation, but are devastating in their collective impact. The destructive power of human networks lies in their ability to divide responsibility so that no one feels truly accountable for the final outcome. This phenomenon is not limited to political or religious systems. Businesses and financial institutions operate under the same principle. In the past decade, we have seen how global networks of banks, investors, and brokers contributed to economic crises that affected millions of people. What began as a series of individual decisions driven by profit transformed into a global financial collapse. And once again, the network dispersed responsibility so effectively that it was difficult to pinpoint a single culprit. Why do human networks have such destructive potential? Harari urges us to reflect on a crucial point. Information is the glue that holds these networks together. However, not all information is created equal. When the information circulating within a network is accurate, these networks can bring about tremendous benefits, leading to scientific breakthroughs, technological innovations, and improvements in quality of life. But when the information is false, manipulated, or incomplete, these networks can become monsters that destroy everything in their path. The problem, as Harari points out, is that false information is not only common, but often more captivating than the truth. Conspiracy theories, sensational rumors, and empty promises have a remarkable ability to capture people's attention. In a world where social networks reward attention above all else, false information has a competitive edge over the truth. What is more, human networks amplify this dynamic. The larger the network, the easier it is for false information to spread unchecked. In Nexus, Harari warns that we must be aware of the power of the networks we create. While they offer incredible opportunities for connection and collaboration, they also have the potential to unleash destructive forces that are difficult to control. Human networks, in many ways, reflect our nature, capable of both the best and the worst. The challenge we face today is how to manage this power responsibly, ensuring that the networks we build serve as forces for good rather than destruction. Point 3. The deception of mass information. We live in an era where information flows at an astonishing speed. All the knowledge humanity has accumulated over millennia is literally at our fingertips. From the history of ancient civilizations to the latest scientific breakthroughs, we have access to more information than our ancestors ever imagined. However, in Nexus, Yuval Noah Harari warns us of a troubling truth. Not all information is good, and having more of it does not necessarily mean we gain more wisdom. In the past, the pursuit of truth involved long hours of study, research, and reflection. Today, it seems like we can find answers to any question with a quick internet search. But herein lies the problem. Harari points out that this overabundance of information not only overwhelms us, but also deceives us. Mass access to data does not guarantee that we acquire true or useful knowledge. In fact, the opposite is often true. We are exposed to an avalanche of misinformation, flawed theories, and, most dangerously, lies disguised as truth. What Harari describes is a modern paradox. The more information we have at our disposal, the harder it becomes to distinguish truth from falsehood. Instead of enlightening us, this flood of data can blind us. It's easy to think that having more information makes us wiser, but in reality, being bombarded with data impairs our ability to process it critically. We no longer seek truth with the same intensity. Instead, we accept what seems easiest, quickest, or most sensational. A clear example of this phenomenon is the rise of conspiracy theories. Harari explains how incorrect information, when presented convincingly and accessibly, can appear more appealing than actual facts, which tend to be more complex and less exciting. Imagine reading an article claiming that certain historical events were manipulated by a secret group of people. Although the idea might seem absurd at first, the way it is presented, with false but well-organized data, eye-catching graphics, and seemingly legitimate testimonials, can make us question what we thought we knew. And that small doubt is all it takes for a lie to take root. Harari emphasizes that truth is not always seductive. Hard facts often require greater effort to understand, while well-told lies can be entertaining and easy to digest. As a result, people exposed to this blend of truth and fiction begin to lose the ability to discern between the two. This is not just an individual problem, but a phenomenon that affects entire societies. At this point, Harari touches on a fundamental issue: trust. Our ability to trust information sources has been deeply eroded in the digital age. Not long ago, reading something in a newspaper or watching it on TV carried an implicit trust that those media followed certain standards of truth and ethics. Today, with the explosion of digital platforms, blogs, and social networks, anyone can publish facts without oversight or verification. This has led to a collapse of trust, where people no longer know what or whom to believe. Paradoxically, this collapse of trust has not resulted in greater skepticism or critical rigor. On the contrary, it has driven many to seek refuge in information bubbles that only validate their pre-existing beliefs. Instead of cross-checking ideas or striving for a broader understanding of the world, people tend to surround themselves with information that confirms what they already think, shutting out anything that challenges their worldview. This is the real danger of the deception of mass information. Instead of expanding our minds, it narrows them. Harari urges us to reflect on how we got to this point. Technology, which initially promised to democratize knowledge and make truth accessible to all, has become a double-edged sword. While it's true that we now have access to an incredible amount of data, it's also true that the quality of that information is increasingly in doubt. Worse still, people's ability to think critically about that information has diminished, not due to a lack of intelligence, but due to an overload of stimuli. Harari highlights that we are not designed to process so much information simultaneously. Our brains evolved in environments where the amount of accessible data was limited and came from trusted sources such as family, friends, or community members. Now, we find ourselves in a global sea of information where everyone has an opinion and everything is just a click away. This situation creates a disconnect between what we know and what we truly understand. Here, Harari introduces an intriguing concept: informed ignorance. Rather than being completely ignorant, many people today are superficially and fragmentedly informed. They know small details about a wide range of topics, but lack deep knowledge of any of them. This type of ignorance is dangerous because it creates the illusion of being well-informed when, in reality, we only have an incomplete and distorted view of the world. According to Harari, the solution to this problem is not simply more information. It's not about endlessly accumulating data, but about learning to filter, analyze, and understand it critically. We must rediscover the patience required to delve into topics, challenge our own beliefs, and actively seek the truth, even when it is uncomfortable or difficult to accept. This demands a shift in our relationship with information. Instead of passively consuming it, we need to actively engage in the learning process. A powerful example Harari uses is science. In science, accumulating data alone is not enough. What matters is how the data is interpreted, how it is tested against reality, and how it is subjected to critique and scrutiny by other experts. This process, though slow and laborious, is what has allowed humanity to make great strides in fields like medicine, physics, and biology. However, in our daily lives, we often skip this process. We take the first thing we read or see as truth, without questioning, cross-checking, or subjecting it to the same critical scrutiny. In Nexus, Harari reminds us that if we want to survive and thrive in this era of mass information, we must regain the ability to question what we encounter. We cannot assume that just because something is available online or shared by thousands, it is true. We need to become more critical, more skeptical, and, above all, more selective about the information we consume. Point 4. From cooperation to domination, the danger of technological elites. Throughout history, humanity has relied on cooperation to achieve feats beyond individual capabilities. From building great civilizations to making impressive scientific advances, everything has been possible thanks to our ability to work together and support one another. However, in Nexus, Yuval Noah Harari warns of a dark turn this cooperative impulse is taking. As we advance further into the digital age, technological elites are accumulating unprecedented power, and what was once collaboration is now transforming into domination. In his analysis, Harari explains that technological elites are not merely creators of tools that make life easier. They have become architects of the rules that govern our daily lives, often without us even realizing it. Initially, these advancements seem like part of a natural human evolution. Email replaced letters, and search engines made information more accessible. However, over the past few decades, these innovations have ceased to be neutral tools and have become pillars of complex systems that control nearly every aspect of our lives. Harari raises a key question. What happens when a few individuals control the technology that everyone uses? The answer is unsettling. Decisions that affect millions, such as which news we see or which products we buy, are no longer made by democratic governments or transparent committees. They are determined by algorithms and the corporations that design them. The problem is that these algorithms, far from being impartial, are shaped by the interests of the technological elites that control them. Imagine, for a moment, that every one of your digital actions, from the online purchases you make to the shows you watch at night, is being monitored and recorded. This is not a plot from a science fiction novel. It's the reality we live in today. Major tech platforms are constantly collecting data, which is used to predict and, in many cases, influence your decisions. Harari explains that the real danger lies in the fact that these decisions are not as free as we believe. We are being guided, often unknowingly, by systems that feed on our behavior and, in turn, shape it. This is where cooperation turns into domination. Digital platforms and tech companies have convinced us that we voluntarily give them our information in exchange for useful, free services. However, what we often fail to understand is that by doing so, we are handing over control of our choices. The technology that promised us freedom and unlimited access to information is, in many cases, limiting our possibilities by only showing us what algorithms think we want to see, or worse, what companies want us to buy or believe. Harari emphasizes that the concentration of power in the hands of a few technological elites is unprecedented in history. Never before has such a small group wielded so much influence over the daily decisions of billions of people worldwide. And the most worrying part is that most of us are unaware of the extent of this control. Modern life, with all its digital conveniences, has made us dependent on these technologies for almost everything. From the devices we use to communicate to those that monitor our health, everything is interconnected and ultimately controlled by those who design and manage these networks. This power is not merely economic. Technological elites are not only interested in selling products or services, They are also shaping social norms and cultural values. Harari points out how social media, for example, is redefining what it means to be popular, influential, or even happy. The algorithms that determine which content goes viral are not designed to promote truth or the common good, but to maximize attention, and by extension, advertising revenue. This creates a dynamic where the interests of technological elites not only influence our economic decisions, but also shape our beliefs, aspirations, and interactions with others. Harari's concern is not that these elites have malicious intentions. He is not suggesting a secret plot to enslave humanity. What he emphasizes is that this immense power concentrated in the hands of a few corporations is inherently dangerous, regardless of intent. When such a small group controls so much information and so many aspects of our lives, the balance of power in society shifts dangerously. What is even more alarming is that these processes are unfolding so gradually that we barely notice them. Harari invites us to reflect on a crucial aspect. History has taught us that the concentration of power in the hands of a few rarely ends well. The largest empires and the most oppressive dictatorships arose precisely when a limited group of people or institutions controlled too many resources and dominated the lives of the majority. The difference in the 21st century is that this concentration of power is not happening in territories or armies, but in the digital realm, where control over information and data is the new form of domination. But how can we resist this change when we are so immersed in it? Harari does not offer easy answers, but suggests that awareness is a first step. We must realize how much control and sovereignty we are surrendering to technological elites. This does not mean abandoning technology or returning to a previous era. That would be both impossible and undesirable. What we need, according to Harari, is to develop a new relationship with technology, one in which users have more power over their decisions and the information they consume. The key lies in constant questioning. We must learn to be critical of the systems we use and the decisions we make. Are we truly choosing what we want, or are we being guided toward what others want us to choose? Harari argues that instead of passively accepting what is offered to us, we need to ask whether the options available genuinely reflect our needs and desires, or if they result from an algorithm designed to maximize corporate profits. Ultimately, the danger of technological elites is not just that they control our information, but that they shape our lives in ways we barely understand. Harari reminds us that while technology can be a wonderful tool for cooperation and progress, it can also be an instrument of control if we are not aware of how it works and who controls it. History has repeatedly shown that power corrupts, and when it is concentrated in the hands of a few, the consequences can be devastating. Point 5. Ecological collapse driven by technology. Throughout history, humans have sought ways to dominate nature. From the earliest stone tools to the most recent advances in artificial intelligence, the goal has remained the same: to control and manipulate our environment to meet our needs and desires. However, in Nexus, Yuval Noah Harari warns of an unsettling reality. The same technology that has enabled us to achieve unprecedented progress is also rapidly driving us toward an ecological collapse that could threaten our very existence. Imagine having the power to reshape the world at will, to build skyscrapers, design cities, and even alter the climate. For a long time, this dream of absolute control over nature seemed impossible, but in the 21st century, technology has brought us dangerously close to it. Yet, Harari reminds us that with great power comes great responsibility, and so far, we have been far from responsible. Harari highlights a major issue. Technology allows us to exploit natural resources more efficiently than ever before. We no longer need hundreds of people to cut down a forest or extract minerals from the earth. A handful of machines can do the job in hours, and the temptation to use this capability is enormous. After all, technology offers the promise of endless economic growth, a future where there will always be more goods, more services, more comfort. However, what we often fail to consider is the environmental cost of this boundless growth. Earth's resources are finite. Although we believed for a long time that we could continue extracting, polluting, and destroying without consequence, reality is starting to catch up with us. Harari invites us to look beyond the immediate benefits technology provides and reflect on the long-term consequences of our actions. Massive deforestation, ocean pollution, and climate change are just a few symptoms of the ecological collapse we are causing. Using tools of our own creation, Harari makes a critical point. This ecological collapse is not merely an unfortunate side effect of technology, but a direct consequence of how we use it. Technology itself is neither good nor bad. It all depends on how we employ it. In many cases, we have used it to accelerate destructive processes. For example, the Industrial Revolution enabled mass production, but also introduced unprecedented levels of pollution. Similarly, industrial agriculture, powered by advanced machinery and chemicals, has increased food production but devastated ecosystems and depleted soil. Harari emphasizes that we are in a race against time. Ecological collapse is not a distant future scenario. It is already unfolding. With each passing year, global temperatures rise, glaciers melt, and wildfires become more intense. Although these changes may seem inevitable, Harari argues that we still have the ability to change the course of history. However, doing so requires rethinking our relationship with technology and, more importantly, with nature. One of the greatest challenges, according to Harari, is that society is trapped in a cycle of consumption. Technology has made everything instantly available, from products to entertainment. We are accustomed to getting what we want without considering the long-term implications of our decisions. We want more cars, more electronics, more clothes, all of which require natural resources that we are depleting at an alarming rate. As technology advances, so does our capacity to consume. As long as we view nature as an endless resource to exploit, ecological collapse will be inevitable. However, Harari is not entirely pessimistic. In Nexus, he suggests that the same technology that has accelerated the ecological crisis can also be our salvation. The key lies in how we choose to use it. Instead of continuing to exploit the Earth unsustainably, we can develop technologies that help regenerate ecosystems, reduce our carbon footprint, and live more harmoniously with the natural world. There are already examples of technological innovation aimed at achieving this, from renewable energy to sustainable agriculture. But for these solutions to be effective, we must change our mindset. Harari emphasizes that technology is not an end in itself. For too long, we have treated technological progress as a goal, as if every advancement brings us closer to a better future. But Nexus reminds us that technological progress, without deep reflection on its implications, can be destructive. It is not just about creating faster machines or more efficient systems. It is about asking what kind of world we want to build with these tools. This is a crucial point in Harari's reflection. Technology has given us incredible power, but it has also widened the gap between our actions and their consequences. In the past, when a group of people cut down a forest or overhunted, the consequences were immediate and tangible. Today, however, the connections between our actions and their effects are more obscure. We can continue burning fossil fuels or consuming plastic products without immediately seeing the impact on the planet. But that impact, though not always visible, is real and accumulating. Harari reminds us that we are at a crossroads. We can continue using technology to extract more resources, produce more, and consume more. But if we do, we will accelerate ecological collapse. Alternatively, we can pause, reflect, and use technology more responsibly. This is not a call to reject progress or return to a primitive lifestyle. On the contrary, Harari believes we can continue advancing, but we must do so more consciously. Ecological collapse is not just a problem for scientists or environmental activists. It is an issue that affects everyone. As Nexus makes clear, as we move further into this century, we all must take responsibility for our individual and collective decisions. We can no longer delegate the task of caring for the planet to a few people. Each of us has a role to play, and that role begins with awareness. Ultimately, Harari offers us a lesson in humility. We have grown accustomed to thinking of ourselves as masters of the planet, But the reality is that we are entirely dependent on nature for our survival. The air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, all come from the delicate balance of ecosystems we are destroying. Technology has made it seem as if we are above nature, but Nexus reminds us that we are deeply connected to it. Point 6. The fragility of democracy in the digital age. In recent centuries, humanity has achieved what many previous generations would have considered impossible: the establishment of democratic systems that give ordinary people the power to shape the destiny of their nations. Democracy is a collective achievement, the result of struggles, sacrifices, and a shared conviction that everyone should have a voice in decisions that affect them. However, in Nexus, Yuval Noah Harari warns of a new challenge. In the digital age, this fragile system is more threatened than ever. The first pillar of democracy is information. For a democratic society to function, citizens must have access to truthful information, form opinions based on facts, and make decisions free from manipulation. But today, the information we consume is increasingly mediated by algorithms, corporate interests, and, in many cases, hidden agendas. Harari emphasizes that this control over information is not an abstract concept. It has very real implications for how we understand the world and how we vote. Imagine that every time you open your computer or check your phone, the news you see has been carefully selected by an algorithm. This algorithm is not concerned with showing you the truth or providing a complete picture of the facts. Its sole purpose is to hold your attention for as long as possible. This means that the information you receive is not necessarily the most important, but the most sensational, the most emotionally provocative. And without realizing it, our worldview begins to be shaped by these snippets of information designed to capture our attention. Harari argues that this process undermines one of the fundamental principles of democracy, the ability to make informed decisions. When information is distorted or presented in a biased way, citizens cannot form well-founded opinions, and democracy begins to lose its essence. As technology advances, this manipulation of information becomes more sophisticated. Algorithms not only know what type of news interests us, but can also predict, and in many cases influence, our political beliefs. A clear example of this phenomenon is how social media creates echo chambers. Instead of exposing us to a diversity of opinions and ideas, digital platforms tend to show us content that reinforces what we already think. If you hold certain political or social beliefs, the content that appears online will likely confirm those beliefs, making it increasingly difficult to encounter opposing viewpoints. This not only polarizes societies, but also weakens public debate, one of the pillars of democracy. What makes the situation even more dangerous, according to Harari, is that many of us are unaware of the extent to which we are being manipulated. We believe that our decisions and opinions are the result of our own reflection, but in reality, they are constantly influenced by the information we consume online. Tech companies, with their ability to collect and analyze data about each of us, know more about our preferences, fears, and desires than we do ourselves. They use this information not only to sell products, but also to influence our political opinions. The result is a growing distrust in democratic institutions. As information becomes fragmented and shared truths become increasingly rare, people lose faith in the system. Conspiracy theories emerge, public debate deteriorates, and ultimately, democracy itself weakens. Harari points out that this process does not happen overnight. It is a gradual erosion, a slide into a reality where elections are no longer free or fair because citizens no longer have access to the truth. This is not the only threat democracy faces in the digital age. Another crucial aspect Harari addresses in Nexus is the growing power of large tech corporations. These companies not only control information, but also wield disproportionate influence over governments and public policy. In many cases, their economic and political power rivals that of nation-states. These corporations are not democratically elected, yet they hold enormous power over our lives. They can shape political outcomes, influence laws, and determine how power is distributed in society. The most troubling aspect is that this power is not transparent. Large tech companies operate under the radar, using their influence discreetly but effectively. Citizens do not always see how their decisions are being shaped by these corporations, and governments often lack the tools or the will to confront them. The result is a system in which elections and democratic processes continue to exist on the surface, but real power lies in the hands of a few elites who control the digital infrastructure. Harari warns that if we do not take steps to protect democracy in the digital age, we risk it becoming little more than a facade, where elections are empty rituals and crucial decisions are made behind the scenes. Instead of an informed and engaged citizenry, we will have a population that is constantly manipulated, both by tech companies and by governments. However, Harari is not fatalistic. In Nexus, he offers a vision of how we can confront these challenges. The first step, he argues, is awareness. We must recognize the extent to which our lives and decisions are influenced by technology. This is not about rejecting or demonizing technology, but about understanding how it works and how it can be used for both good and ill. By becoming aware of these dynamics, we will be in a better position to protect democracy. Harari also emphasizes the importance of education. In a world where information is constantly manipulated, the only real defense is the ability to think critically. People must learn from a young age to question the information they consume, seek multiple sources, and avoid accepting everything they see online as truth. Only an informed and critical citizenry can resist the forces that seek to weaken democracy. Finally, Harari suggests that we must find ways to hold large tech companies accountable. This will not be easy, given their immense power, but it is essential if democracy is to survive. Governments must work together to regulate these corporations, ensure they operate transparently, and protect citizens from manipulation. This does not mean restricting free speech or limiting the free market. It means establishing clear rules to ensure that the power of technology is used to strengthen, rather than undermine, democracy. Point 7. An uncertain future. Are we already ruled by algorithms? As technology has advanced, we have increasingly delegated important decisions to machines. We've grown accustomed to algorithms helping us solve complex problems, from finding the fastest route to work to choosing what movies or shows to watch after dinner. However, in Nexus, Yuval Noah Harari raises a troubling question. At what point did algorithms cease to be mere tools and become something far more powerful, perhaps even the true rulers of our lives? Are we already being governed by algorithms? This reflection begins with a simple but profound premise. Algorithms are not impartial or objective. They are created by humans and, as such, carry the biases, interests, and limitations of their programmers. Yet, their ability to process vast amounts of data and offer seemingly precise solutions has granted them an authority that we rarely question. But, as Harari suggests, we need to stop and consider whether we are giving too much power to these machines, and what this means for the future of humanity. Think for a moment about how much our lives have changed thanks to algorithms. In many ways, they have made life easier in ways previously unimaginable. You can shop online and receive recommendations for other products you might like. You can check your email and see how the system has already filtered out spam. All of this happens without any conscious effort on your part. And it is precisely this ease, according to Harari, that is dangerous. The more we rely on algorithms, the more we lose our ability to make decisions for ourselves. Harari points out that although algorithms appear neutral, they are designed with specific goals. For example, search engines and social media platforms use algorithms that prioritize certain types of content. This not only influences the information we see, but also shapes how we interpret the world. If algorithms determine which news articles appear first in your feed, you are likely to see a highly limited version of reality, one that aligns with your previous interests and behaviors. In this way, algorithms not only predict what we want, but also shape it. The real danger, as Harari explains, is not that algorithms occasionally make mistakes. The danger lies in the fact that, by delegating more and more decisions to algorithms, we risk losing something inherently human, the ability to make mistakes and learn from them. By design, algorithms aim to minimize error. Humans, however, grow and evolve through failure. If we allow machines to always guide us down the correct path, we risk losing our capacity to learn, discover new possibilities, and even challenge the systems we live in. As we move further into the digital era, Harari suggests that algorithms play a deeper role in our lives than we realize. They are no longer limited to online recommendations. They are being used in fields such as justice, healthcare, and education. In many countries, judges use algorithms to determine sentences for offenders based on statistical patterns of recidivism. In hospitals, doctors rely on automated systems to diagnose diseases and recommend treatments. In schools, algorithms help identify which students need additional support or which teaching methods are most effective. These examples reveal an uncomfortable truth. We are delegating crucial decisions that affect human lives, to systems that do not understand the full context, lack emotions, and cannot exercise compassion or human intuition. Is this the kind of future we want? Harari warns that if we continue down this path, we may end up in a society where algorithms control not only our everyday decisions, but also the most fundamental aspects of our existence. However, Harari's analysis is not entirely pessimistic. He does not propose a fight against algorithms, but rather a deeper understanding of their influence in our lives. We must learn to use technology consciously, without being swept away by the convenience it offers. Instead of blindly accepting the recommendations and decisions of algorithms, we need to reclaim our capacity for critical decision-making, our ability to doubt, question, and explore beyond what automated systems tell us. The uncertain future Harari presents is, in part, a wake-up call. He invites us to reflect on the role we want algorithms to play in our lives. It is undeniable that technology will continue to advance, and algorithms will continue to play an important role in society. But we must ask ourselves how much control we are willing to surrender. Because once we fully hand over our decisions to algorithms, what remains of our autonomy, our ability to forge our own path? Harari reminds us that algorithms, though powerful, are not infallible. At the end of the day, they are tools created by humans and, as such, have limitations. They cannot understand the emotional context of our decisions. They cannot grasp the full picture of our lives. They cannot feel the joy, pain, doubt, or hope that drive our choices. While algorithms excel at predicting behavior based on past data, they lack the intuition and creativity that make humans unique. The challenge we face, according to Harari, is finding a balance. We cannot reject algorithms or the technological advances that have positively transformed our lives. But neither can we allow them to rule over us entirely. We must be aware of their power, their limitations, and, most importantly, we must be able to question them, rather than passively accepting what they offer. We need to regain control over our decisions and ensure that, ultimately, we remain in the driver's seat. Harari poses a fundamental question. What does it mean to be human in an age where algorithms seem to know more about us than we do ourselves? If we continue to rely on them to make decisions on our behalf, what remains of our ability to dream, to make mistakes, to discover the unexpected? The future is uncertain. But Harari makes it clear that it is up to us to decide whether we will be mere spectators in this new world governed by algorithms, or whether we will be the protagonists of our own story. Final words. Throughout Nexus, Yuval Noah Harari takes us on a journey through the deepest corners of technology and its impact on our lives, revealing a reality that is both unsettling and fascinating. Artificial intelligence, human networks, mass information, technological elites, ecological collapse, the fragility of democracy, and the growing power of algorithms represent the major challenges we face in the 21st century. While each of these topics seems to operate independently, they are, in fact, deeply interconnected, forming a complex web that defines both our present and, more importantly, our future. The starting point of this exploration is artificial intelligence, a human creation that, paradoxically, seems to be slipping beyond our control. As Harari reminds us, AI is not merely a harmless tool that simplifies our lives. It has the potential to learn, make decisions, and ultimately alter our realities in ways we do not yet fully understand. While its presence is invisible in many aspects of life, it is constantly influencing our daily choices, often steering us along paths we don't even realize we're taking. But artificial intelligence does not operate in isolation. It functions within a broader framework: human networks. Here, Harari prompts us to reflect on how the connectivity that technology provides can be both a blessing and a curse. While these networks have enabled us to collaborate in unprecedented ways, they have also made manipulation and control easier. The same tools that connect us with people across the globe can be used to spread misinformation, sow division, and spark conflict. When misinformation becomes the norm, truth is relegated to the background, leaving us vulnerable to deception. This leads directly to the third theme: the deception of mass information. In a world flooded with data, truth becomes a rare commodity. Algorithms and digital platforms prioritize what grabs our attention, not what is necessarily true or important. Without realizing it, we begin living in information bubbles, surrounded by content that reinforces our beliefs and stirs our most basic emotions. Harari warns that the overload of fragmented and biased information makes it increasingly difficult for us to make informed, conscious decisions. But information manipulation is not the only threat we face. In the fourth section, Harari analyzes the role of technological elites, those small yet powerful corporations that, without being democratically elected, control much of our lives. These companies not only shape the global economy, but also influence politics, education, and even our ways of thinking and interacting. Through the technologies we have seamlessly integrated into our daily lives, they exert power we rarely question. How far are we willing to hand over control? Meanwhile, the environmental impact of technology cannot be ignored. In the fifth point, Harari illustrates how our insatiable desire for progress has brought us to the brink of ecological collapse. The tools we've created to improve our lives are also destroying the planet we depend on. Although technology could offer solutions to reverse this damage, Harari challenges us to shift from a mindset of exploitation to one of regeneration. The problem extends beyond environmental destruction to the fragility of our democratic institutions, the focus of the sixth section. In a world where information is manipulated and controlled by algorithms, the very foundations of democracy are at risk. Citizens deprived of accurate and diverse information cannot make informed decisions, while technological elites, with their economic and political power, increasingly control governments. In this scenario, democracy could become little more than a hollow facade, where elections and public debates are mere performances. Finally, Harari confronts us with one of the most unsettling questions of our time. Are we already ruled by algorithms? These systems, which began as tools to help us navigate the digital world, have become the true architects of our reality. They make decisions for us, shape our opinions, and predict our behaviors with frightening accuracy. The more we trust them, the more we gradually surrender our autonomy, our ability to make mistakes, learn, and take control of our lives. Through all these themes, Harari delivers a clear warning. Technology is a powerful force, but it can also be destructive if we are not aware of its effects. It has enabled incredible advances in every aspect of our lives, but it has also brought enormous challenges that we must address urgently. Most importantly, Harari reminds us that, while technology has shaped the world we live in, we still have the power to decide how to use it. In these final words, we see how all these themes are interconnected, like threads in a web that is not always visible, but is undeniably present in every aspect of our lives. Artificial intelligence, human networks, mass information, technological elites, ecological collapse, democracy, and algorithms are not isolated topics, but parts of an interconnected whole. Each element affects and is affected by the others, creating a complex system that defines the present and future of our civilization. The key question Harari leaves us with is, what will we do about it? Will we continue to cede control to machines and elites, allowing algorithms to shape our future? Or will we reclaim our autonomy, our capacity for decision-making, and our responsibility as human beings? The answers to these questions will not only determine the course of technology, but also the fate of our species. The journey through Nexus has shown us both the dangers and promises of technology. But ultimately, the book's greatest lesson is that the future is still in our hands. It is up to us to decide whether we want to be the protagonists of our own story, or whether we will let others, whether humans or machines, take control.